In this video, we're going to do a tutorial on how to create your digital project on July's People and post-colonial theory in Microsoft Sway. So everyone should have Microsoft Sway in their Outlook account from River Valley Community College. So if you log into your email or your 365 account and go into this little waffle in the corner, there should be a section where you have the apps. If Sway isn't on the immediate list, if you go to all apps, it should be on that list. So once you click into Sway, you'll have a dashboard that should look something like this. You may not have other I have a bunch of portfolios in here already from previous classes. I don't expect you to have all those portfolios, but what you would want to do from here is to click New Blank Sway. So you'll notice that the setup is pretty straightforward. It's not super complex, which is kind of nice. And this page that you get taken to is your builder page. It's where you build the content. And to start with, you would just go with your title. The title is one of the requirements of the project, so you want to make sure you have that. I'm just going to put in a sample title for now. So from here, you can add sections. So what I like to do is when I'm planning a project, I like to sort of guesstimate how many sections I'm going to have. For this project, I'm asking you to respond to 3 questions and to include a works cited page. So ideally that will be 4 different sections. So if I want to create those sections now, I would go click the plus sign on the title and then go to heading 1 and add a heading. And I would do that 3 more times until I had my 4 sections. And the headings just function as sort of umbrellas for all the different content that you're going to add to those sections. So I've added all my headings, and now I can go ahead and add the labels. So I'm just going to title them question 1, question 2, and question 3, but if you'd like to title them something a little more creative, feel free to do so when you're creating your own portfolio. But in the interest of providing a sample, so now you have your 4 headings, and the next thing that I would recommend adding is a text section for each one, because you know you're going to have to include an essay response in each of these sections. So just like you did to add the headings, you can click into the section that you're working with. So for the first question, if I wanted to add a place for me to type in or copy and paste my essay answer, I would click the plus sign in the question 1 section, and I would look at my options. And in the first page, I have a text option. And it gives me a text box where I can either type directly in here or copy and paste. So for now, I'm just going to copy and paste some random text so that we can see what it looks like. And if I were doing this, I would probably go ahead and add text boxes to all of my sections, including the works cited. And the good thing is that Sway saves automatically, and you can always go back and edit these individual boxes later. So even if you're just doing the basic setup and you don't actually have the content to add yet, you can still do that basic sort of outline building, and then it will be more convenient when you're dropping stuff in later on. So I'm just going to put, again, some random text just so we can see what it looks like. And if, as you're working on this, you would like to see what it's going to look like once it's, once you're showing it to people, if you click this play button, it will show you what it looks like. This side-scrolling version is not my favorite layout, but you can play around and decide what works for you. If you would like to change the layout, if you go to Edit, there is a design option. The storyline option is where you add the content, and the design section is where you change the way it looks. So you'll notice in the design section, there's this styles option. You can change it to vertical scrolling, or you can change it to individual slides. This is something you can play around with. I tend to find that for most projects, the vertical scrolling looks the most cohesive, but it's something you can, play around with. You can also choose these different backgrounds and play around with what you want the design to look like. I'm just going to select this one for now because it's fairly simple, but it has this cool background option on it. And hopefully as we're going through this, you can kind of see the benefits of using Microsoft Sway as opposed to something like PowerPoint, because it looks a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more polished. So let's go back to storyline mode. So once you've added your essay pieces, you're probably going to be thinking about adding the media that you're going to be working with. So let's talk about how to add different types of media. I feel like the most simple example is probably images, whether it's a, photograph or whether it's a chart or graph. It's fairly easy to add that in Sway. So again, if I want to add an image to go with question 1, I would click this plus sign, and then I would go to image options, and it's going to give me an image card. So ideally what you'll do for all of your pieces of media is either save them to your device or have them easily accessible. If you're working with like podcasts or websites or something like that, I like to bookmark all of that so it's really easy for me to find. When you go to add something, this section will pop up where it gives you options for it lets you search for things. I would avoid using the media that is already present in Sway, because the only drawback is that it doesn't give you the information you need to cite it, so there's no way to use it ethically. So I would find your media elsewhere, and ideally you're probably going to be looking for things that are more specific than what's already included in a general search like this. Like if I'm searching just South Africa, these are kind of just random pictures that are probably not necessarily going to be directly tied to the questions. So if I want to include a picture, what I could do is click into the image section, and if I click suggested, it allows me to upload from my device. So I have a couple things downloaded. So let's download this graph just to see. And so now I have a graph in here, and I can add a caption that explains the relevance. Sometimes people like to do that just to give an idea of how the media is connected to the response, the essay response. So that's how you add image. What if, though, you have a video? So the way that I think is easiest to add videos is by embedding them. So if we click this plus sign option and go to media, there is an option to embed. So and the easiest way to get videos with embed codes for sharing is via YouTube. So if you find a video on a different website that you want to use, it's sometimes worthwhile to check if they have it on YouTube, because often they do. For example, I can find most TED Talks on YouTube because TED has a YouTube channel. So it's worth checking out just because YouTube is so easy to work with Sway. So if I go to this this Nelson Mandela video and I click share, one of the options I have is embed, and it gives me this giant mess of code. If I click copy and then go back to my Sway and click embed, it gives me a place to paste that code. And if I click into it, now the video is in my presentation. The next video will talk about adding audio and using a couple more of the design features in Sway, and then we'll take a look at the finished product and talk about how to share it. So I know these videos are sort of lengthy, so feel free to skip around, feel free to pause them, do some work, and come back to it. That's totally fine. So hopefully this gives you some materials that you need to get started, and the next video will help you with the finishing touches.